we are giving a real assessment of gender equality in the African tech industry. And I'll be inviting the moderator for this panel, and she will introduce her other panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, I said gentlemen, distinguished ladies, yes, our very first panel moderator for this panel, her name is Chiazagom Anisebo. She's a HR generalist, and she's going to be driving this conversation this morning. So please, a round of applause for her as she comes forward and invites the other panelists. Please, let's keep the applause going as she invites the other panelists up. So just before, hi girl. So just before you introduce your panelists, I want to read a bit of her bio, right? So that we can know that she's capable to handle this conversation, right? All right, so Chiazagom, you can have your seat. I'll just read it to you. And please, let's applaud her. Thank you. Like I said, she's a HR generalist, and she has over 3 years of experience in the HR industry with 2 years experience in the tech industry. She's passionate about using data and analytics to improve HR practices and create a more equitable workspace. As you can see, she's dressed in pink, and she's a strong advocate for women in tech. Ladies and gentlemen, Chiazagom. Distinguished ladies. Thank you.
All right. Hi, Barbies. Okay, so today's panel session, we are going to be talking about how far a real assessment of gender equality in African tech industry. So this session aims to, we want to discuss about how we can advance gender equality in the African tech sector. And we are going to be assessing the efforts that has been put into making sure that this happens. So with me on this panel, amazing women that I have today, we have Ruth Ikega. Ruth is an open source consultant for Bitiga and lead for Shecodeafrica. I hope I pronounced that right. And she's a technical writer, and she's a GitHub star. At the early stage of her career in 2020, after she switched from microbiology, she got introduced to open source, an avenue for volunteer, and brings ideas to life in tech, and she ran with it. She has, and since then, contributed to various projects, including the Chaos Project and Layer 5. Please round of applause for Ruth. Okay, so the second panelist that I have is Oreoluwa Leslie. She's the founder of WTech. You heard all the amazing things that they are doing. So please give her a round of applause. Yes, so next on my panel, I have Omotayo Olasoji. She's the communications manager for WeTech. Round of applause, please. She's a content marketer. She's the communications manager at WeTech, which is a non-profit organization that empowers and advocates for women to join the tech space while providing access to mentorship, networking programs, and career opportunities. And finally, someone say finally. On the panel, we have Ifeoma Udo, who is the CEO and founder of Shecodeafrica. Please give her a round of applause. All right, so as I said earlier, we are speaking on a real assessment of the gender equality in the African tech industry. You know, when the WeTech representative was speaking about something, she said that most of the STEM roles are occupied by men, right? As you can see, we are beautiful ladies here, and we are looking to break even on that, right? Where STEM roles are not just male-dominated, but it's actually equal for both male and for female. So we're going to be asking questions that are tackling issues why there's still some sort of male dominance in the African tech industry. And I'm going to start with Ruth. So what are some of the challenges that women face in the African tech industry, and how can they be addressed?
Okay. Yeah, first assumption is, I think a couple of speakers talked about it. The assumption that you're not technical, you're not a software engineer. I've gotten pretty much, I think even when I started coding, even now I don't code, I don't do coding, but when I started coding, I think someone walked up to me and I was coding, I was on my computer, and then he said, I know you are going to switch into a non-technical role soon. And that's one assumption that people always have. And even when you say you're a software engineer, they say, wow, oh, wow. And that's one of the assumptions or one of the challenges that women face. And it can be very downgrading sometimes. Another challenge that a lot of women face, and even me, I've faced personally, and which is what Shecodeafrica is always doing, trying to provide resources, is the resource challenge, where getting started in tech is really hard, right? And then there are little or no resources, and it's also something that is challenging for you to move forward, right? I've also faced that personally, and even opportunities, especially for newbies in tech, or people that want to get their first experience, getting that first job. Sometimes, even generally, there's a lack of opportunity. Talk more of when, okay, you have, you as a woman, you're okay, they're okay, maybe this person won't be able to do it, maybe we should hire a man, right? So those are some of the challenges that I have faced personally, and I've seen people face.
Okay, so how do you feel, what you've mentioned now is there are stereotypes, right? So how have you addressed it, or how do you think they should be addressed? In case, in this sense, it has happened to you. When it happens to someone else, what do you think that should be put in place? Are there policies that should be put in place to help curb that? Or even if it's not policies, right? How do you feel that these issues should be addressed?
So first, confidence level. I think the keynote speaker talked about the girl energy here. So having that confidence in yourself first, because a lot of times communities do a lot with providing opportunities, empowering people, giving people that motivation, but you have to be confident. You have to know that I can do this, for somebody not to shut you down and say, okay, you're not what's been here. So I think for me, I would say first is confidence, and then the work that communities are doing, programs like this that help curb that effect.
All right, thank you. So you guys have heard confidence level should go all the way up, more than 100. So, all right, I want to ask, right, we've seen that your work at WTech has been instrumental in empowering women in technology. So can you share a success story, maybe an initiative that you have done that has actually addressed that issue?
All right, thank you so much. I would say that every girl who has passed through our WTech programs is a success story. And so Blessed read out some of the figures, and it's really, really inspiring to see that 67% of the girls or the young women who have attended our camp said that the camp inspired them to want to pursue technology. That is really, really awesome. And then we also have 25% of our alumni who are currently studying a STEM degree, or they have already graduated and they are working. Then we have the girls or the young women who decided that they didn't want to go the STEM route, but they are still using the skills that they got through the programs, either to make money or they're integrating it in other aspects of their lives. So one thing that we like to do is we like to showcase women who are doing a range of things. Of course, we focus on STEM. So we bring in the software engineers, the doctors, the systems analysts, but then we also highlight women who are not in core tech, but they are using technology. So it could be an intellectual property lawyer, it could be a fashion designer who uses technology for her designs, just to show that tech is everywhere. You don't necessarily have to be working in tech, but you are using technology. And so we see that a lot of the girls are coming out and they're confident. So they have a greater awareness of what they would like to do. Sure, a lot of them come out and they're like, I want to work in tech. But then we have the girls who don't, but then they are now confident and they are able to apply technology to whatever they're doing. I think another important thing which has been highlighted in some of the talks is that tech is not just about programming, it's not just about being a software developer. There are so many roles in tech. So we're proud that the girls who are passing through our camp and after-school clubs are coming out with an awareness of the different opportunities that are available for them. And then they're also connecting to role models and mentors as well. So they're coming out, and a lot of them are doing STEM, tech, but then some of them are not, but they are still using tech powerfully, whatever they're doing.
Yes, that's really amazing. So there's one thing that she said, and she said that the success stories are every single lady that has passed WTech, and I think that's commendable. A round of applause, please. And you're also very correct saying that to work in tech, there are non-technical roles in tech. I mean, I'm in tech, but I'm in HR. I cannot code. If I see one code, headache. I can't cope with that. But there are also very amazing women too that have that strength to do that. And I think it's also very important that we cater to roles, non-technical roles in tech as well. So before I move to the next question, I'll just throw it open to the house. We are going to have a space to just pick 2 questions from the audience. So she's going to be raising her hand. So the lady raising her hand behind our keynote speaker, please just pass your question to her. So we're going to be picking 2 questions from the audience that we're going to be answering. So yes, my next question is directed to Ifeoma. So what are the unique challenges and opportunities you've encountered in promoting financial inclusion for women in the African tech space?
Hello, everyone. So, my name is Ifeoma. I run a company called Shecodeafrica. And when we started Shecodeafrica, I started Shecodeafrica because I was in venture capital, and at that time, I was reviewing and approving money for women. And I found out that women were not showing up to get money. And it just made sense to say, hi, let's find a company that provides financial service to women. And that's what Shecodeafrica did at that time. I like the conversation that is going on here about tech. But for me, from my point of view and where I sit, is a conversation about getting more women to have economic empowerment. Because without money, we can't make the changes and we can't lead the women-led development that is necessary for us to move forward. What are the challenges that you face quickly? Is that you realize very quickly that many women need to be prepared to take the opportunity that exists. Do you understand me? So we're in the revolution where technology is pioneering and leading so many things. And it means that very quickly, if you don't step forward to take those opportunities, you will stay with traditional opportunities, and they are not areas that you can make money very quickly. I heard somebody saying, yes, earn in dollars. That's what she wants to do. So with a technology skill, you can do that. Another challenge that you face is stereotype and bias. But you need to quickly grow very thick-skinned to it and realize that anytime you're in the room, so that's why it looks like, there was a time that when I was growing up, it looks like most of the powerful women were aggressive. No, they grew thick-skinned because at every table, they knew that to be heard, they have to make twice as much sound than it is. So whenever you're there and whenever you're in that room, make sure that you're not just occupying it, that you're making sure that your voice is heard. Another third thing and another challenge you face is that sometimes you sit in a room and you're the only person. How do you solve that to make sure that every time you sit in that room, in that opportunity, that you open doors for other women? That is the only way that you have allies. You know how men have allies to grow? As women, when you start growing, you need allies to be able to grow. Thank you very much.
All right, so I think what I picked from what she said is be your woman's keeper. Can I say that you can be a woman's keeper, right? So whenever you see you have opportunities, make sure that you leave the door open for other women as well. And she also mentioned something about making sure you do the hard work so that you can actually be represented wherever you find yourself. Omotayo, so I want to ask you, how can effective communication strategies help bridge the gap, the gender gap in tech? And what role does storytelling have to play in this context?
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here today. There's a real issue with gender gap, and especially in the tech industry. And communication can play a key role in that, especially through online media like social media, blog posts, podcasts, newsletter. I'm sure that we all go through our phone every day and read news and information on this. And this is the way that communication can play a part with gender inequality. When people share their stories through storytelling by crafting it in a very magical and also engaging way, what people are inclined to read their stories and also understand the challenges they are facing and also help to contribute to fight that. Thank you.
All right, so she said making sure that there's access to newsletters, podcasts. Imagine if we had like a Women Tech I Said What I Said podcast. I mean, right? I mean, anybody can start it though. Please just put me in your equity when you find the company. But yes, you can. Imagine if we had a Tech I Said What I Said podcast, that would give us some sort of inclusion that we are not alone, right? And I think that's actually very important. So once you are here, when you are thinking of all the ideas of things that you want to do when you leave here, you might as well put that. It might not necessarily be a podcast, but it could be you starting a series on your LinkedIn or your Instagram or your Twitter where you actually talk about these things. And when you're maybe not just addressing gender issue, but just talking about what it means to be a woman in tech and the challenges women face or are facing in tech. And I mean, I think that that would make us more inclusive. Yes, speaking about inclusivity or inclusion, sorry. Ruth, so you are like a maintainer in the diversity, equity, and illusion working group at Chaos. Am I pronouncing it right, Chaos? Yeah. Okay, Chaos. What measures can organizations adopt to ensure that their DEI strategies are not just check boxes, right, but result in meaningful changes within their tech communities? So what I'm saying is, what meaningful strategies beyond, let's just do International Women's Day, is more than that, or not more than the norm, right? What other strategies do you feel that organizations should put in place to actually tackle inclusion?
Yeah, so first thing is, a lot of times, like when International Women's Day is there, a lot of companies, organizations, they just want to partner, at that initial period, and after March is over, their doors are closed, right? So one of the things is creating programs that will help people gain opportunities into their companies. Because, like for example, now Shecodeafrica, there are a lot of amazing queens here that have diverse experiences, right? So creating those programs beyond the partnership, beyond International Women's Day, creating programs that would create like a pipeline, a talent pipeline to provide opportunities in their companies. And that thing I want to talk about is funding. Funding is something that is really, really important. Like, without funding this whole program, you won't be here, right? So funding is something that is important for communities like this to provide that motivation that women need and to provide that support that women need. So funding is really, really important. And then also doing an assessment within themselves, because I think a lot of times DI is something that it's easier, sometimes you say it's easier said than done, right? So doing that assessment within themselves and also being advocates, finding advocates, even the women in these organizations being advocates. And, I think one of the panel speakers said she found that gap, right? And she decided to advocate for that. So yeah, so those are the things I think.
All right, thank you. So programs, funding as well. And it's not just the one-off programs like, let's just do International Women's Day, but making sure that, even the women that we cater to, how do we follow up on them? Yeah. Reminds me of what WTech does as well. Um, yeah, so I'm going to be going back to Omotayo again. So, what are some of the ways that organizations can use their voices to advocate for gender equality in tech industry?
Okay, that's a good question. Organizations are like well-known people in the tech industry, and they can use their voice to advocate for women by setting up policies in place that ensures that there is a close in the pay gap between men and women. Like they don't have to fight too much or go tooth and nail before they can get paid for what they deserve. And when other organizations see what they are doing, they'll follow suit and be an example. Um, yes, and that's one way organizations can show with support women. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm going to be going back to Ore. Following up on what Omotayo has said, this time around, how can women, what are the ways that women themselves, not just organizations, right? Because there are times where it seems like what the organizations are doing might not be enough, right? And you need more groundwork. So how can women themselves, how can they use their voice to advocate for gender equality in the tech industry?
Okay, all right. So I think that it's important. So you said that we can use our voice. And I'm going to come back to that word, our voice. We can speak, we can share our experiences. So within the workplace, it's important to let our supervisors, our employers know what we're doing. Sometimes employers are not fully aware of the depth and the width of the amount of work that you're doing. So it's important to make sure that we're documenting our work and we're able to have periodic chats, not to wait until performance review time, but to share periodically. So whether you grab your supervisor for like a monthly chat or coffee or tea, just to share what you've been doing, share maybe some challenges that you experienced and how you overcame those challenges. I think that's very important. Then I think it's also important to build a reputation beyond the workplace, because a lot of us are moving from one company to another company. So you also don't want to be hemmed in. You want to make sure that your employers are knowing what you are doing, but then you're also sharing this with the world at large. LinkedIn is a wonderful platform. You can share the things that you're doing. And I think companies these days are definitely a lot more restrictive than maybe like 10, 15 years ago, when they would not want you to have an identity outside of the company. Now it's possible to share. So you're building thought leadership, you're building a reputation. And I think that's important because it does two things. Number one, it reaffirms or showcases your value as an individual woman. But if enough women are doing this, it also highlights how important, women are in the workplace, especially in the tech workplace, the kinds of things that we're doing. It's important to showcase and to tell our stories. I think that's really, really important. And then also, to open the door and let other women come in. So, for instance, if you are hiring, think about a woman first. And if you're in a position, you are in a position to hire, make sure that you are making sure as many women as possible are applying and getting a fair shot in the interview process. I think that we are in the places we are to use our positions for a good reason. And it's important to be an ally. But you just don't want, let women come. But you want to showcase that women are valuable, we are contributing to this workplace and to the industry at large, and then you're opening it up to other women.
Yes. So she mentioned, I think the last point she mentioned is that when we are considering women for roles, we should be more open. Yes. I think that speaks to me, being in HR, where I should be very much open for roles, very much open to hiring women. I would say competent women. You can't do haphazard work. Yes. I mean, tech is serious business, right? You can't do haphazard work and be like, okay, I'm a woman, employ me. No, you have to prove your competence, right? So, and prove that you know what you're bringing to the table. So I'm going to take one more question, and after her question, then I will take the audience questions as well. So, Ifeoma, what steps can the African tech industry take to attract more investment, specifically focused on women-led startups and businesses. So what initiatives can we take? What steps can we take so that we can bring in more money, as you say, for the women-led businesses?
So, more money for women-led businesses. So I will talk from my perspective on both sides because I feel that the problem for more funding to women is both from the investors' part and from the women's part. So let me start from the investors' part. One is put more women in charge of writing checks. That makes a lot of difference when it comes to funding. So there's so many research that show that once you change the person writing the check from a man to a woman, she's likely to invest in a woman. So that's one thing. Get more women more women to be on the investment committees to invest. Also get the team very, very conversant with gender lens financing because these things matter. You know, people have subconscious bias and it triples down. Another thing is have more women have money because at the end of the day, if you give, the money is the person deciding where the money goes to is the person that have the money. So with more women having money, they make the sole decision of where to go to. Then for women, it's just be ready and show up. Like, I'm so happy to see so many women, so many young women here. I mean, investing in themselves, taking themselves seriously at an early age. Trust me, it will pay off. So show up for money. I see a lot of women doing projects and they say, oh, I'm just passionate about it. I know you're passionate about it. If money doesn't sustain that passion, it will do what? It will die. So show up and know that money is very important and learn about how to get money for the things that you want. And by the time you consistently do this and know that money is important and know how to get money to what you want, I feel that the stars will align. Thank you very much.
All right. So in other words, she said, get the bag, sis. You know, all the dollars that people are looking for, get the bag. Because it's also like, there are also steps where when women have the money, it's easier to fund women-led businesses as well. So I think we're going to answer this question quickly, and I think I want to show it to Ore, because that's more in your line of work. So this SEA Queen said, or this Barbie said, aside from just creating opportunities for women to get into tech, what other things can we do to ensure we get more females from the grassroots rural areas into tech? What can we do as a group and what can we do as individuals? This is mainly focused on secondary schools.
Okay, perfect. Because WTech does a lot of work with secondary school girls. In fact, I would say we do more work with secondary school girls than we do with any other age group. And that's because when we started, our very first program was for women who are working, and we were showing them how to incorporate social media into their work. But then we quickly realized that if we are hoping to close the gender gap and get more women into tech, we needed to start from an earlier age. We need to start from the age where the girls are starting to lose interest in tech and think they're starting to buy into all the stories or the myth that tech is for guys. And so we went to secondary school, and we even do work in primary school as well. Because at this stage, you know, girls are open, they're excited, and they have no restrictions, you know, on them. Maybe by the time you're older, you bought into a lot of society's stereotypes. But in secondary school, I mean, you are still bold and open, and you really don't care too much, you know, oh, someone is telling you, oh, tech is for men. No, you don't buy into that. So we do a lot of work. We run residential camps, and also we have after-school clubs. The camps are important. They're very intense, over 2 weeks. But we realize that you really need to sustain interest. And so you need to have an avenue to keep working with girls over a longer period. And that's where our after-school clubs come in. When secondary schools, every week, running through a STEM curriculum. And I think that's something that we can all do here. Yes, we may not all like work in an organization that does training, but we all have skills that we can share, and I think it's important that we can do that. I'm sure a lot of us will have younger sisters, some of us are mothers, so we have daughters, or we have nieces, we have young women in our community or environment. So you can reach out to them, maybe, every Saturday morning, let's get together, let me show you how to do something, let me train you. I think that's important, and we can do that where we are. There's no organization that can do it all. That's why we need a critical mass of organizations, individuals, and corporations who are working to make sure that tech is more accessible for everyone. So wherever you are, you can start to build that training hub or network within your community, on your street, in your school, in your church, in your mosque, wherever you are. I think that's important. So let's look at ourselves and see what we can do. And I just wanted to quickly add, you spoke about a tech version of I Said What I Said. WTech actually has a radio show and a podcast. It's called She Talks Tech. So please look out for us. Yeah, just Google us.
She Talks Tech by WTech. So you guys should be on the lookout for that. I think Informa wanted to add something briefly.
Yes, so I feel that very, very quickly, communications matter for women. Why? Because by running Shecodeafrica, I found out that women don't want to do another thing. They want to solve their problem. So when we started and we said, hey, come and take a loan, I noticed they didn't buy it. Come and take a loan to buy a laptop. They all came. So maybe the narrative when you want to push and sell tech is saying, come and make more money than maybe your mothers or those before you. Does that make sense? Yeah. So because tech, if there's no disruption in tech, if there's no life-changing opportunity, if there's no money, will we be doing tech? Thank you. We can as well be frying chin-chin or, retouching hair. Do you get what I mean? So let's take it as a mandate to say, let's change your economic situation. And I know a way. With tech, you can sit down and become a software developer and earn 1 million in 1 year. With making hair or maybe frying chin-chin, it will take you a lot of work. Does that make sense? So that's what I feel. Communication on the why is very, very important. Thank you.
All right. So, all right, but I hope we're able to glean a lot from this session. Are you cool with me? I hope we're able to glean a lot from this session. I'm so sorry, we can't take any more questions. But any question that you may have, you can direct it to any of the panelists who you feel will be in the best place to answer your questions. So on that final note, we have this to say.
Chair Zago, I'm sorry to interrupt. We have questions from the virtual audience.
Oh, we have questions. Okay, yes. I will take one question.
Okay, yes. Okay, just one. Someone asks, how can you grow above the limitations stopping you from tech?
Okay, I think I'll assign that to Ruth.
So that's a tricky one because I don't know what the limitation is.
How did you get here? How did you get here?
But I think it's resilience, just because there are a lot of limitations moving up in tech or even starting tech, right? So leaning on, I started from Shecodeafrica, the SCAM program. Who was in SCAM program? Yes, 2020 in the pandemic year. And that was really difficult because I was at home. There was a lot of work to do, right? My mom is always calling me, come and do this, come and do that, right? So, leaning on support from Shecodeafrica, the community, getting motivated by people's stories. There are a lot of speakers today that will share their stories. You will definitely relate with one. So getting motivated from people, leaning on support is how I was able to overcome a lot of limitations.
Okay. So make sure you lean on support. That's why we have programs and communities like Shecodeafrica who are here to cater to our tech needs. We have WTech as well. We have Shecluded. We have so many organizations, tech organizations here that would basically help further your career in tech. And even if you are just starting, you can start from where you are. You're at Shecodeafrica. They have communities. They have workshops. They have so many things that you can do to kickstart your career. I mean, you are not far behind. So if you see anybody on this panel, anyone on the panels coming, please make sure that you're reaching out to them. Ask questions, speak up, because when you're earning your dollars or when you're earning your millions, we're not going to be there with you, but you can start from this, event. So on that final note, I'd say this: as we strive forward, may our commitment echo louder than our challenges. And may every keystroke in code be a testament to the power of true inclusion. Together, let's code a future where talent knows no gender and innovation recognizes no boundaries. Thank you.